to present the great Eddie Graham into the Hall of Fame, please welcome the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Growing up as a young lad, you have to have someone you cling to. You have to have somebody that you reach out for. You got to have somebody that gives you that thing inside of your gut that drives you to be the best you can be. My mentor was Eddie Graham. He took me from zero. The only time he got mad at me is when I said funky like a monkey, and he didn't know what that meant. But on Tuesday when it sold out, he liked that phrase. I looked at him as a father. He was a great pilot. In the late 50s and 60s in Madison Square Garden, the old Madison Square Garden, Dr. Jerry Graham and Eddie Graham had a riot one night against Antonio Rocco Miguel Perez that went on for a long time. I'm talking about there ain't no rails around the ring. There ain't no cushion over here you hit your head on or bust your ass on or something like that. They had a riot. People beating people up over this. When the police got rid of it, the next day the cleaning crew come in. Somebody on the cleaning crew was a fan of Eddie Graham's, and Dr. Jerry and the others were the fans of Rocca and Perez. True story. They had another riot the next day. True story. He went on to become president of the National Wrestling Alliance on 2 occasions. That means he was a leader of men. That means he was a driver. What I say to each and every one of the legendary figures out here, the people that are legends, that you take one of these young kids here and you be a father figure to him, you drive him to be the best that you can be in this industry. Not a day goes by that John Cena don't walk up to me and say, "How was it? What can I do better? Tell me what I did. What's it all about?" That makes me feel good. Eddie Graham went on to the state of Florida and what we used to call Madison Square Garden of the South, the Fort Hesley Armory. We'd walk in the Armory, the Eddie Graham Sports Stadium, just a little while down here on the Tamiami Trail. Is there Ethel Snodgrass in here that anybody named Ethel Snodgrass? I didn't think so, but my Hall of Fame buddy there was talking about her. We'd go over there on Sunday nights, and on Monday we would go to West Palm Beach. On Tuesday we'd go into Tampa. On Wednesday we'd go to Miami. On Thursday we'd go to Jacksonville. On Friday we'd go to Tallahassee or Fort Lauderdale. On Saturday we'd go to Lakeland, or we'd go to St. Petersburg, Florida. And on Sunday, we'd come back to Orlando, and we started it all again 350 days a year because we wanted to be the best at what we did. We wanted to grab the golden ring when we could. We wanted to reach out and bring home the bacon, as we call it now. You got a rope to bring home the bacon. We on the step right now of a monumental event tomorrow over here in the Citrus Bowl. People's lives are on the line. People's careers are on the line, and world championships are on the line. Eddie Graham instilled that in me. He made me what I am. I could not have been the American dream if he did not believe in me. I could not walk out here tonight or be a member of the Hall of Fame if he did not believe in me. He was so precious to me. We stood under the plane on many a night. We would fly in, and he'd get me there by the wing. Reminds me of somebody else I know. And all we talked about till the sun came up was the wrestling industry. He told me when to walk, what to do, where to go, and why it meant something. Why I did something that meant something. Because you cannot shortchange the fans of our industry. I loved him so dearly. He gave me my wings to fly. He gave me the opportunity to move mountains and entertain millions and millions of people. He was my mentor. He was my rock. He was Eddie Graham. And it's my honor at this time to introduce his son, the godfather of my youngest daughter, Mike Graham.
This is a whole lot different than the Eddie Graham Sports Complex out on East Highway 50. To say I'm overwhelmed would be an understatement. The magnitude of the Hall of Fame is just unbelievable. The tremendous athletes and friends I see sitting in the front row and third row and fourth row, wow. We'll talk about him later. Anyway, my dad, a young kid out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, some people came around and he had a paper route, and his dad used to beat him up and take the money that he earned on the paper route. So when he went to the YMCA, he started learning how to wrestle. He wrestled in prisons, carnivals, take on all comers, did a lot of things, and finally went to Amarillo, Texas in the mid-50s and met the legendary man, Dory Funk Sr. And then he started learning about professional wrestling. He saw the blood and thunder and violence from the old Wild West. He did everything you could do wrestling there as Rip Rogers, and he was a ripper. And through his last months there, he had an unfortunate incident with a wrestling, not promoter, but a person in government that thought they knew about more about wrestling than he did in Houston, Texas, and he beat the guy up and left him laying on the floor. And so the commissioner then sent a letter to all the wrestling promoters in Texas that Rip Rogers was never allowed to wrestle in Texas again. There was a fellow in New York by the name of Dr. Jerry Graham. He and Vince McMahon Sr. were very good friends. Jerry had heard about this wild boy from Texas that there was no stopping, and had been trying to get him to go to New York. So my mom and I are living in a little trailer, and Dad goes to New York, calls my mom a month later and says, "Hey, Luce, you got to bring the kid and come up here." And that was probably the turning point in his life, because he met another senior. He met Vince McMahon Sr. And Vince took him to the next level. He had the ability, I can't say the words that I should, but the blood and thunder from the old Wild West. And through Vince, he learned fancy robes, showmanship, lights, big venues. Vince always wore suits. He always was a first-class businessman. So after being with Vince for many years and me getting too old and schooled, I couldn't fight all the kids too much. My mother couldn't go to a store that people wouldn't try to beat her up. He couldn't get in the buildings because of people trying to turn his cars over. He said, man, I can't keep my family doing this. He went to Florida. When he went to Florida, he combined Vince McMahon's unbelievable attitude and professionalism and spectacles with Dory Funk Sr.'s blood and thunder and wild and craziness. And unknowing at that time, he set the mark for professional wrestling around the world for the next 4 decades. To this day, you talk to people, and Eddie Graham was the man. I'm up here trying to fill some shoes again that I was never able to fill, but I'm telling you a true story. Dad not only excelled in the wrestling industry and all those things, but he was a firm believer in giving back. Had he not been a member at the YMCA, he would never have learned how to wrestle. He would never have gotten that chance. He couldn't have stopped the other kids from beating him up and taking his money from the newspaper route. Every time you see in Florida a billboard, a bumper sticker, or anything that says the Florida Sheriff's Boys Ranch and Girls Villas, Eddie Graham was the founder of that organization. He believed in giving back. And tonight, I want to give back for my father. This is a photograph of the first ever NWA Alliance meeting that was in 1961 in Toronto, Canada. For the first time in history, wrestling promoters from around the world, Japan was represented, Mexico was represented, Australia was represented, Canada was represented, America was represented. This is the forefathers of our industry, the first meeting to take over the world in an organized manner and control professional wrestling worldwide. There are people in this photograph: my dad, Vince McMahon Sr., Pat O'Connor, Buddy Rogers, Gorilla Monsoon. The names go on and on. This is the true Hall of Fame members that got us all where we are today. And I'm honored and proud to be here and accept for my dad and present this to all the great wrestling fans and wrestlers that there are here tonight. Thank you.